Okay, howdy everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our second event for the semester. We are very excited to have you here. Today we are presenting a workshop on stepping into open source, and you're going to hear from our vice president and our projects director a little bit about what open source is, how you can contribute to it, and what tools and technologies you have at your disposal to help you get started with this journey. So without much further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Shrey and Aditi.
Hey guys, welcome to our first workshop of the year. Thank you all for coming here. This workshop is focused on those who are new to open source and want to get started contributing to and using open source projects. But if you're more experienced, you can still feel free to stick around and learn more. So we're going to first get started with learning about open source and why we use it. And then we can find out ways to locate beginner-friendly projects that you can get started with. And then we'll get into more of the GitHub, like technicalities of how to use Git and GitHub to actually contribute. And we'll talk about a little bit about the projects for DSC this year.
Yeah, just before we get started, this is super informal. So if you have any questions, please just mention them in the chat. And then we can get them addressed as we go, because it'll help us just kind of understand how everyone's faring and if everyone is understanding it. If not, it'll also give us the opportunity to just dive deeper into some topics that we might not be diving deep into. Having that said, let's get started.
Yeah, so you might be wondering what open source is. So basically, it's any project for which the source code is open for anyone to inspect, modify, or improve upon. And the developers actually want you to use their technologies and improve it for others' use as well. So this code is available for you to download and use freely. And many of these licenses also promote collaboration and sharing of these projects. So developers may prefer open source also because you're able to control the aspects of it that you like and you don't like. So you can change the parts that you want to improve upon and use some of the more necessary aspects for your personal use cases. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So you should contribute to open source specifically because it can help you. So it can improve your technical skills by working on more complicated code bases, the kinds that you might find in industry or in larger class projects. It can also help you boost your career. So a lot of big companies like Google really enjoy reading about candidates who have contributed to larger projects and have made an impact in the open source community. And you can also meet people and be part of communities of people that are passionate about similar topics as you and learn more about their interests. And you get experience collaborating with others, especially when you're working on smaller parts of much larger applications. So you get to work with other people and other skills that they have.
One point that I want to draw your attention to is boosting your career. Open source is probably the most, like the second topmost thing that companies look for apart from internships. So if you don't have any internships done, or you're a freshman and you want to go forward, open source is the way to go, because you'll not only have contributed to projects which are like important in the real world and someone's using them, but also kind of understand all of these things that delve around open source and just good development principles in general, right? So like open source is probably the thing that will get you the most internships, except other internships.
Yeah, for sure. I've even had interviews where we've talked a lot about just open source projects in general and my personal interests for projects and the interviewers. We talk about that at length.
Yeah, I know Google for sure loves open source. So if that's one of your top companies, have a look into it, right?
So you might possess a lot of different skills, and those can be used towards open source in many different ways. So depending on your personal use of different technologies, you might find different things to fix in the projects. So these can be anything from bug fixes that you might notice in one of your favorite libraries, or any specific aspects that you think could be added. You can send in a request to the moderators to add that feature, or to improve upon it yourself. You can also request to merge your changes into their actual code. And you can, if you don't have feel comfortable about those skills yet, you can of course just work on the documentation, because a lot of the documentation is the most important part of open source and how other people contribute to it. So improving documentation really helps as well. And if you're more interested in the front end, you can also make improvements on the user interface and user experience.
Not only that, like anything that you feel you can add in terms of value to a project, it's fine, right? Like if you think that there's this one thing that's bugging you in that project, and you know that no one has ever pointed it out, if you just point it out, that still helps them figure out the issue, right? That still helps them make it more foolproof in the future. So even if you can't commit to it technically, you can commit to an open source project via finding bugs or just trying to break it, because that's a whole another field in computer science that is getting explored right now. We do have a question. Yes, this is being recorded. Righty. Aditi, anything to add on this slide, or?
Yeah, I think you covered everything. Yeah, so now we'll move into how you can actually go about finding your first project. So finding your own first project can start off in many different ways. You can use your personal experience with some technologies and see if you find anything to improve upon, or if you have any suggestions. And you can also look for repositories with projects that you might just be interested in, and see if the repositories are actively being added to and modified. And you can check to see the history of issues and commits to it to see if it's still being worked on. And some other ways of finding projects is to use some of the links that are in the link tree below to find tags that are specifically directed towards those who are interested in starting open source projects, and they might be tagged with difficulty as beginner, or good first issues, or just up for grabs and help wanted.
Yeah, let's actually walk through one of these projects. So let me actually go to the link tree so you have an idea of how it looks. So here's the link tree. There's a bunch of stuff. I would definitely look into Hacktoberfest. You just have to commit like 5 to 6 times to open source repositories, and you get a free t-shirt and you bragging rights, right? So definitely check that out. But just looking for open source projects, it's super simple. Let's actually go to Up for Grabs. It's a simple, and this is the screenshot you will see in the slides. We will share the slides as well, so you can keep track of it. But Up for Grabs. So let's say filter by name. I don't know names of any open source projects, so let's just go into labels. Now I'm definitely a beginner, so I want it beginner friendly. There we go. That seems to work as well. And I want it to be in Python because that's the only language I know. So there we go. And okay, so it seems that all of these tags are in just 2 repositories. So exploratory analysis of Bayesian models with Python. I don't know what Bayesian means, so I'm just going to go to the next one. A Facebook Messenger bot that allows users to chat with other people. That seems dope. So let's see if I can contribute to it. And when I open this, usually, so I'm sure you're familiar with GitHub, but for those who are not, this is GitHub. Welcome. This is probably going to be your life for like the next however long you want to work, right? So this is a README file which will explain how do you contribute to it. So like it says like, first you need to clone it, then you need to create a key, you need to do all of these steps to contribute to it. And usually all of the open source repositories or projects will have such a README file where you can contribute easily. If they don't have that, that's something you can contribute to them, right? So pretty simple on how to find a project. There's a bunch of names as well. So if you just go and like, oh, this seems cool, like auto drive route manager, I'll probably remove all of my tags just to be certain. And there we go. Like, seems easy, right? You can look at it, you can try and contribute to it and go from that point. Going back to our slides, this is a cool resource. I would definitely suggest you check it out. Other things that you can do is, Aditi, you want to take over or?
Yeah. So basically some recommendations, you want to find projects that are being actively worked on, because the worst thing is if you submit like a pull request for a project that's no longer being worked on, it's probably not going to get approved. And you can start off with smaller projects specifically because they're probably easier to understand because the code might be more simple, and the moderators might be more welcoming to changes, especially by beginners. You want to also make sure that you follow the coding conventions that that specific project outlines. Those are probably in the README files and the contributor files if it has one. And the only thing other than that is to not be intimidated. You might not have 100% response rate, but you're definitely, like, one yes is worth it for all the no's that you might get. And if you continue to work at this, you're definitely going to be able to work on more complex and more impactful projects.
Before we actually get into Git, we have a poll just to get an idea of how well you're familiar with Git. Let me just release it. Whoa. Why is it not showing up? Oh, there we go. Polls, Git familiarity. Okay, you all should see a poll on your Zoom now. Please answer so that we can go over the next slides accordingly. I would even suggest the officers to answer to that because it's kind of crucial. All right, 23 of 27, 24, 25, 2 more people. There we go, done. Oh, all right, so most of you do know what Git is, but for those who don't, Git is just a version control system. And if you're Lord of the Rings or Hobbit fans, there you go. But yeah, so Git is something that is called version control. It's really simple to understand. Imagine it as Google Docs for your code, right? So you write some code, you make some changes, you want other people to see those changes. And there you go, that's Git. There's a lot of things which Git can help you with. It can help you with tracking code throughout the different sources, so you know how to get to it via different like you can see who committed this code, so you can see who made these changes and ask them about why did they make them, or like kind of understand it via them. You can use it for let's say you're a team of 15 different people and you want to work in different sets of code. Git allows you to create snapshots of your code so that you can work in different sets and make sure you don't make the actual code go bad. In fact, I use Git for all of my classwork because I know at some point I'll make a mistake where like it goes dumb and I'll have to go back and start from the beginning. So rather than doing that, I'll have like a commit history where like I can have snapshots of all of my code. So I know that if I mess something up, which I usually do, I can go back one step and restart from there. So there's these basic Git commands. You don't need to know all of them, but I'll just go over the main ones. So let's go with what a commit is. A commit basically stores the changes between your previously written code and your current code. So it's kind of a snapshot of all of your changes, right? What that also means is that, let's say I have this code written, and instead of add, now I make it subtract. It'll just keep track of that add to subtract. So it wouldn't copy paste all of my files. It'll just keep a history of those changes. So it's easier to understand. There is also, so let's see status. So get status will allow you to see what files you've changed, and it'll kind of give you an idea that, oh, wait, I changed these many files, but I only want to commit X files. For committing only X amount of files, you can use git add, which will allow you to choose what files you want to add to your commit. And that's kind of how the whole process works. So this image is probably the best thing you can see here. So you work on something, you add those files to staging, where you kind of like keep them safe, and then you keep working. And then once you feel like you're comfortable with this level of work, or like it's working and I don't want to work on it anymore, I just commit, right? But let's say while working, I made an error and I want to go back to my previous commit, my previous snapshot. I just do a git checkout, which will allow me to go back. That's kind of the general idea. I have posted a whole 30-minute tutorial on just Git, just so that like once we get started with projects, you kind of keep that going on. I will also post a cheat sheet. That is probably the best tool to have with Git. You get it in hackathon. So if you have been to a hackathon, you will have had that cheat sheet, but it will allow you to basically understand what each command means in more depth than what we have here, but also allow you to just use them for whatever use case you have. So it has a full use case basis. All right, so how do you contribute to the process of open source? There's multiple ways, as we suggested earlier, but right now what we are going to do is we are going to find an issue and then solve it via pull request. A pull request is, let me explain why I like code. So let's see, so I have this repository link, and yes, it is up for open source. There are a few contributing guidelines, so like file an issue, notify the maintainers, fork, develop, test, docs, and a bunch of other stuff, right? But let's actually just go through the code and understand what it means. So there is a file called sumpy, and then there's this function which is called calcsum. But it seems like it's returning a negative value, and that's kind of the issue. So let's create an issue. For that, really simple. Since the issue is in this line, I click the 3 dots, reference a new issue. And bam, it creates the line in the issue and everything. So all I have to do is, okay, what's the issue? We can say logic error for calc sum, right? And then I can add more details. The function calc sum seems to be wrong. And then if you know what markdown is, it's kind of helpful. If you don't, that's fine as well. Negative should be minus should be plus, and then that's it. So I submit this new issue, and then see it makes it kind of cool, like it tags your line and then our description. And this is markdown, but if you don't know it, it's totally fine, as I said. And now that's an issue. So whenever Aditi is going through her code, she sees, oh, there's an issue. And then when she goes to the issue, she knows exactly what it is about and how to do it, how to go about it. Now we know how to fix this issue, right? So let's actually go fix it. Now, in her contributing guidelines, she says that fork the repo, develop, test your code changes, and then add documentation. So let's actually do that. So forking a repo, it's pretty much similar to just copy pasting it on your own profile on GitHub. What that does is that, as I said, like it creates a snapshot away from the main file so that you can do your stuff on it without messing up the main files. So let me just fork it. Really simple. Okay, cool. Let me jump to my fork. Yeah, we see that return A minus B is still there. And you see on the top, it says fork from Aditi Panchal at DSC workshop. Let me know if this is too small or too big in the message section, so I know if I need to increase my size.
You can make it a little bit bigger.
Okay, cool. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. So now that I've forked it, right, this is still online. I still don't have it on my computer. Although you can edit it online via this tool, but I would not suggest it. I would still suggest just cloning it. Cloning it, what does cloning it means? Cloning it means that I simply create a copy of this code on my computer. I clone it, just like if you're a Star Wars fan, you know what a clone means. But otherwise too, you just clone it on your computer and you can go from that point. So let me go to VS Code. Let's open VS Code. There we go. Oh, that's my homework. Great. CD, let me go to my desktop. CD, DSC, CD. Okay, let me do a git clone here. This is a fancy way of just copy pasting code. Once I've cloned it, it will create a repository for me. A repository is nothing but a folder. So it will create a folder for me. DSC, yikes, DSC workshop.
Can you zoom in or increase the font size?
Sorry, yeah. 1 second. Is this kind of better?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it's broken right now, but we'll see. There we go. Okay, so I've opened this file in VS Code now. And this was the file we had an error at, right? Now, there is this really cool tool called Get Graph in VS Code, which allows you to see how much changes have been made and all of the other stuff. So this is really cool. Please check it out if you can. It's dope. But otherwise, let's go back to sum.py. Now we know that this must be plus, and I will also add a comment here, just saying that negative changed to plus. Save it. And now VS Code already has Git in it inbuilt. So it'll tell you, you see these changes that we made. Like we changed the negative to positive. And then there's this comment we added. I know it's not visible on Zoom. It's not visible to me either. But all it says is negative change to positive. Actually, let me go to the light mode. Maybe that will help. If your eyes hurt, I'm sorry. Where is light mode? Oh, there we go. That's it. Change negative to positive. I'm going back to dark mode. It hurts my eye. Also, there's only one bright color theme, which is the dark mode. Or this one. There we go. So change negative to positive. You can see it in these changes that we changed it. Now let me just, so as I talk, get status will tell me, oh wait, I have this one file modified. I should probably add it. So get add sum.py. So now I've staged it. What staging means is that now these changes are kind of like pre-launch ready. Like you can, from this point, all you have to do is push to the remote repository, which is what Aditi's, actually that is my repository on GitHub. and then they can have an access to it. So git push, oh, actually I'll have to commit first. So git commit, M just allows me to type a message in. So fixed bug. So I can actually say like what issue this fixed. So let us go to GitHub and figure out what issue this was. So let's go here. We see the issue and see it says number 5 here. So we can actually tag it in the commit and you will see that it auto closes an issue later. So let's actually do that. Fix bug number 5, then done. And you see this tiny up arrow, which means that it's ready to be pushed. This means that it's, so you see there's 3 different versions. This is pre-staging, post-staging, that means we have 1 change. And then this is ready to be, this is post-committing or pre-pushing. And then all I do is git push, which sends it to the remote repository. Voila, now we have it pushed to GitHub. So if I go back to my GitHub, how do I say? Oh, there we go. Fix bug, Aditi Panchal bug number 5. You see that? So it actually tags it in. So it's really easy for you to view what thing fixes where. And I can actually create a pull request. What pull request means is that, one second. Okay, let's just see why this is not being. Usually this will not be the case. It will say it can merge. I'm thinking that since Aditi had commits after I created this fork, it was not able to merge it. But let's still try and see it, how it will go, right? So we are committing to Aditi's repository or Aditi's code base to her branch of master from my repository and my branch of master. And I create a pull request, fixed bug number 5. This fixes the logic issue in, again, it never hurts to tag in number 5 and then create pull request. There we go. And if there are conflicts, don't really worry. This is on Aditi to fix them. So Aditi can fix them in like a snapshot, and then a minute or so later, you will see like, hey, so this pull request has been closed. Why? Because she merged it into her folder. And what merging a pull request means is she basically copied my code and pasted it into her code base. And that's literally it. And in fact, I can even resolve code conflicts if I'm right. Okay, I see that the conflict is, okay, so let's see. Let's just delete these and then that one. Now there is no conflict. The mark is resolved. Commit merge. You can do this, but I would leave it to the moderator. And now see, this branch has no conflicts with base branch. Now if Aditi will merge them, we will see this cool message saying that, hey, this was merged into Aditi's thing. Oh, there we go, merged. And then now this pull request is also closed. And then she can go ahead and close this issue, right? Because we merged it. And the cool thing is it keeps track of it. So it sees that, hey, I actually referenced it in here. So that means that I've kept working on it and it's merged now. If we go here, sum.py, there we go. Our code is up there and it's running. So it's good. Any questions so far? I know this is all really big stuff to take in, but like, and most of you, like, if you're not familiar with Git or any of these, this kind of seems really like advanced, but after like maybe like an hour of practice, you'll be able to do this like while you're sleeping. It's that easy, but you just need that hour of practice. Any questions so far? Like, okay, this was really cool and useful. I hope so too, because when I started learning coding, and I did not code before coming to Texas A&M, I did not know how to code, and everyone was using Git, and I did not know how to use it, and I had to kind of self-learn. But in fact, if like one of our other clubs on campus, which is the Agni Coding Club, we do kind of these similar workshops there as well, and we covered Git there, and that's where I learned Git from. And we will keep doing these beginner-friendly workshops. So if you have any ideas, feel free to post them in the general channel on Slack, and we'll probably do that workshop next. That's how easy it is for us. Like, if you're familiar with it, we'll do a workshop on that. If there are no more questions on this, I kind of understand it's tough. So we will also upload it to the YouTube links, but just let us know in the Slack or in the messages on Zoom, and we'll answer those questions. All right. Going back here. So why are we learning open source? So one thing is it helps your career. Second thing is there's this really cool challenge called Google Solution Challenge, and you can win cool prizes and get into like Google Spotlight and whatnot. And more or less, you can help the community in a better way, where like you can contribute to the community and probably put that in your resume, which will also gain more traction. But that's kind of the idea. Let me actually optimize my screen for video viewing, and then we can play that video. Actually, let's see if I can. One second.
As technologists,
let me open it on YouTube so that.
As technologists.
All right. Let me know if you can hear the video.
We build things. We build apps and websites, self-driving cars and burrito delivery services, meme generators, and, well, you get the point. But why are we doing this? What's the point of this technology? My name is Arman Hazarkani, and in this video, I plan to answer these questions and more. Welcome to the Developer Student Club's Solution Challenge. Here at Developer Student Clubs, the point of technology is to build solutions to local problems. So what makes a solution successful? What separates successful products used all around the world and products that fail to get any users? Simply put, successful solutions solve a well-defined problem and unsuccessful solutions don't. Let's look at an example. A lot of times people will jump right into building a project they're super excited about. They'll spend weeks and even months developing it, leading up to an incredible launch with 0 users. That's not great, but for some reason, this is a time-old story, and it happens to students, entrepreneurs, and even large companies. Why? Most of the time, it's because they started at the wrong place. A lot of scientists, engineers, and inventors alike start by thinking of a really cool idea rather than a really tough problem, which leads to all these really cool ideas with no real-world application. The key is to start by identifying a problem, then deciding how you want to apply technology to solve that problem. When building any project, the most important step is identifying a true problem, something that people truly feel. A lot of people don't spend enough time here because honestly, it's difficult and it's time consuming. Like anything else though, the hardest part is getting started. So here are 3 ways I'd recommend to help begin the process. Why not just start right on your campus? Grab a pen and paper and go speak to as many students, researchers, and faculty you can find. Ask them where they spend most of their time, what they find most difficult, and what they wish they had. Over time, you'll notice some trends that you can use to define shared problems right on your campus. David Assem and his Developer Student Club in Ghana use this approach to develop a VR application for first-year students on their campus. You can also approach local businesses or NGOs. You can choose one business or organization and solve a problem specific to them, or you can choose to identify and solve a shared problem for a group of these organizations. Either way, it begins with a conversation. You can send emails or make calls, but it's often best to just go and knock on some doors. Grab that same pen and paper, hop on a bike, and ride over to these local organizations to ask them how you can help. You can also identify problems at the community level. These are problems that your community shares as a whole. One developer student club in Jakarta was in a community that suffered from floods every year, causing damage to homes and lives. They realized that if people had more time to react to the crisis, a lot of damage could be avoided. The team learned all of this by speaking to members of their community and learning about their pains. Eventually, this led to them creating an app that allowed users of a community to alert each other of oncoming floods, saving infrastructure, money, and lives. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but these three methods have one thing in common. They all start with a conversation, with a student, an organization, or any other member of your community. If you speak to enough people, you'll feel the friction in their lives, and once you do, you can identify their problems. Once you've done this, you're on your way to building a great solution that'll touch lives right in your community.
Okay, let me start sharing the general stuff again. There we go. So did that inspire you to find a problem and solve it? But if not, we'll keep looking, right? We will keep looking for projects, we'll keep looking for problems. And that's kind of what Google Solutions Challenge is. They will allow you to find problems and solve them, and they will provide you resources from Google to help you solve those problems. Like I think last year they brought in the people from Jakarta, and they actually talked about their problem live on the stage in California, just so that it gets more exposure, it gets more feedback, and Google actually helped them launch a full-scale project in Jakarta after that. So you will be competing with these people on your solutions idea. Now, obviously, he said like go and knock on some doors and do that stuff, but don't. Like, we're in COVID times, just call them, email them. Calling is probably best because these people are not the most technology friendly, and that's why they need your help. They need help to become technology friendly, and you can obviously contribute to that. So that's one problem already, like help them become technology friendly. And all of these projects can be submitted to Google, and we'll go into that process later, but that's kind of the idea of how you can participate in the Google Developer Solution Challenge. All right, let's jump ahead.
So speaking up about the problems as what the video described. So I was thinking of like other country that I know that have some problems with technology as what they showed in the video. Is that possible that I think of idea and then share it and then maybe start working on something for that country? It's not in the US.
Yes, that is possible. However, you will be applying from the US. So you can mention that this problem will be solved in this, let's say it's your home country or you have visited that country. So it will be solved in X country, but you will be applying from the US. So you have to take that in mind. You can obviously solve any problem you want. It is recommended though that you solve problems near you. But if you have an idea for a problem in some other country and that you know for sure that it's going to help those people, go for it. Like there's no one stopping you. And now that everything is virtual, it's either way, it's going to help them from here as well, right?
Yeah, sure. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, Aditi, you want to take over this one?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. It's great that you want to solve a problem in different countries. Like we all want that reach, but the only thing, like the reason that they recommend you to solve your local problem is also because you will be able to evaluate its impact better. So that might make things easier. But of course, if you have the reach, then go ahead. Yeah, now jumping into more of the projects aspect of, oh, did you want to say something, Shrey?
Yeah. Also, Zaid, is that's your name, right? Zaid?
Yes, yes.
If you have friends in that country and if you want to collaborate with them, I think that's open too. In fact, I think you can have cross-country teams and you can apply as people from two countries. So if you want to do that's open as well.
Yeah, well, I have like basically my whole family and my friends and everything over there. Like I have a bunch of people, more people there than here, you know. So, and I know I've lived there most of my life, so I know many problems that the country is suffering from. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Make sure you can like send us a Slack message so we can talk more in person and we can figure out the best way for you to get in, right?
Okay, sure. I got you.
Perfect. Sorry, Aditi.
You're fine. So just project teams in general for DSC. So we want you to participate in the solution challenge for Google, but it's still optional. And if you do choose to participate in the challenge, though, you want to keep your team at a cap of 4 members. So the way that this will work is you can join the team formation challenge or team formation channel on Slack and basically put in some ideas that you have about projects, or just look for a team or reply to a thread from other members who actually have ideas and you want to join their project. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do that, kind of hackathon style, find a team and find a project. And once you do find your team, you'll want to pick a project manager and submit your proposal and basically information about your idea on these Google Forms, and there's one for just project managers to fill out, and there's one for all of the members, including project managers, to fill out.
Yeah, and if you're afraid like you don't have the right resources or you don't have the right technology or the knowledge to solve it, that's why we are here. That's why we have the think tank, which will be going up in a few weeks. And what the think tank will do is they will be really people in their field, students still, who can help you with these projects and kind of help you maneuver them so that you can succeed in those projects. Before we go on to the next slide, I do have a poll that I would like you to just answer, just so that we have an idea of how many people are kind of familiar with projects or where do you stand with projects. So launching, I think it's launched. Let me know what y'all think. Okay, there's about 10 people who haven't voted yet.
Also, I have a question regarding the thing you just talked about. What's called again?
The challenge?
No, you said there were some people who will come from.
Oh, the think tank. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually was trying to register on that one also yesterday, but the link was not opening. So if it's possible that you can send the link for that one on chat, maybe.
Wait 1 second. The next slide is of the think tank.
Sure. I mean, I'm going ahead, I think.
Yeah, so let me release the results of the poll. 1 sec. Yeah, so here are the results. So, okay, so most of you do not have an idea, but you have you want to work on a project. That's great. Join the team formations channel, and then you can find a team, an idea, and then get started. If you have an idea but not a team, great. You can find a team in team formations. If you're too busy, well, if you change your mind, we're open throughout the whole year and you can apply whenever. If you want to work on it during winter, that's fine. We are open during the winter as well. Yeah, so as I said, the next slide is the think tank. So basically what the think tank is like literally the Avengers of our club, where like they're these team of really cool people, and then they go and solve problems and then come out. Literally, for anything, for just being in the think tank, I would suggest you have like at least 6 months to a year of experience in that field. Like if you made one project, it's okay, but if you made like 2 projects in that field, go for it. If you think you're great with marketing or soft skills, go for it, apply, and we'll probably have an interview with you. And if we really like you, you're in. And it's really that simple. So if you don't have an idea, or you don't have the time commitment of working on a whole project, but you think you can spare some time and also want to contribute to a project, you can apply for the think tank, because that's probably the best way you can still contribute to a project and be a part of the club in a more involved way. So apply. And I think, yeah, do we have any more questions? Literally anything, projects, Git, just GitHub in general, open source, anything.
So referring to think tank, sorry, just talked about. So I'm about to start like a project. I just got assigned in a project with Aggie Coding Club, and like I'm trying to be involved in my field. Like this is my 3rd semester, so I have some experience with coding, but I've never worked in a project. I've never got any internship yet, so I'm just like started to building everything. So do you think that I'm qualified right now or not yet?
It kind of depends on what field you're applying for. So let's say like, if you say you're experienced in mobile app development, but then you have never developed an app, that's kind of bad, right? But it depends, right? Like if you say you're good in statistics, and if you haven't done any statistic apps, that makes sense because you're good with statistics. So like you might have a good idea of the theory, but some fields require practicalness, some fields require theory. So it's kind of both ways. I would suggest you apply, and then we can go on from that point. Also, if you're members of the Aggie Coding Club, if you have a project assigned there, and if you're just like below 10 people, I would suggest, in fact, any number of people, I would suggest you apply with the same idea here. It'll probably get approved. But make sure that in the DSC solution challenge, only 4 of you can apply. So like have that understanding in your team when you apply with the Aggie Coding Club idea as well.
Well, I'm in the Lead Code, what's called challenge. So do you think that will work? Like we practice Lead Code.
Lead Camp is not like a project. It's more of a learning based.
Yeah.
So I don't think Lead Camp will qualify, but I just want to add here that for think tank, like if you think that you have enough experience, if you're passionate about something, please go ahead and apply. Like we don't want to discourage anyone from applying. More importantly, like I can talk a little bit about what the think tank will be doing. Like Shay mentioned, you will be helping the projects, but more than that, you will also be helping us give these workshops. So if you think that this is something that you would be comfortable with, something that like if you have this amount of experience with a particular technology, then definitely go ahead and apply for the think tank, and we would be happy to review your application.
And you don't necessarily have to present, you can just help us with creating content, right? So like we are familiar with presenting it, but maybe like, let's say I don't have any expertise in front end whatsoever, right? So if you're an expert in front end, you can at least help me create the content and help me learn, and then I can present.
Sure. Okay.
Alrighty. Any questions? Okay, if we don't have any questions, I would, we have, I think, one more poll. We just kind of wanted to get an idea of how did you like this workshop, and if we want any changes, because this is our first workshop. This is the first time we are doing it. And I kind of just wanted to get an idea of what do we want the next time, and we can make those changes the next time.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
So
for it.
is this club mainly focused on projects with a little bit of workshop?
It's kind of hand in hand. So it will have a lot of workshops. We have events planned for at least the next 2 months.
Okay.
And they are kind of a mixture between workshops and get speakers. But if you want more involvement with the club, it will be via projects because it helps you create that intimate group and then work with them. But we will have other large scale events like study jams, which is like Google comes in with their like whole force, and then we teach students about new things like machine learning or whatever, literally whatever topic you all want to learn. And then we have other competitions like Cloud Hero and then mini hackathons and stuff like that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay, the poll is done. Um, yeah. Okay, so we want similar to today's workshop that's assuring. And then okay, cool. So I will try, since there is like about, I think 30% people, exactly 30% people who kind of want it more beginner friendly. So we can do it in a different way next time, but I just wanted to get an idea of how we are faring on it so that we can do well the next time. So I think that's great. Yeah, please follow us on all of the social medias because that's where we post these questions. So if you want to workshop somewhere, you'll probably find an Instagram story or a Twitter poll saying that, hey, what do you want to workshop on, right? We will also do it on Slack, but social media more often. And all of our announcements and major things that we do or share, even with DSC Global. So there's over 200 DSCs in the North America. So they have events almost every day. All of those details are also posted in the Slack. So I would suggest you join the Slack, email, and all of the social media because that's where we get our content out. And this is recorded, so we will be uploading this to YouTube. So if you missed any part of it or if you have some friends who are interested, feel free to send them those links. Yeah. Dakshika, anything?
Yeah, I guess everyone just make sure that you're in the Slack on the mailing list, keep up with our announcements and updates. We have a bunch of exciting events coming up. And yeah, so for today's workshop, we will be sending out the slides and we will also make the announcement and put all the links with the applications for the projects. So don't worry if you missed anything. And we will also have the recording up on our YouTube. So you can go back and rewatch if you're interested. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. And we hope you